So we haven't seen too much progress happen in the markets, and here's why we didn't really see that. We're going to jump into some reports that came out last week, the CPI and the PPI, and then we're going to talk about some of the chart patterns. We're also going to talk about some levels that you guys should pay attention to and the upcoming events in terms of economic data that's coming out that you guys need to be paying attention to. My name is Xander with Facer Trading Academy. If you guys are interested in this kind of content, make sure to like this video. It helps get this video out to more people. That way people can make more informed decisions as to investing or trading. And obviously it helps the channel out. And if you guys subscribe. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. It's going to be a short video because we didn't really have too much happen. On the left, you guys can see the daily chart of the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ ETF. So as you guys can see, we've been pretty much trading in this sideways channel for the last week and a half to 2 weeks. And really the game plan here is for us to play the breakout to either the upside or the downside. And we're going to dive a little deeper into that. But let's go ahead and talk about what happened last week in terms of CPI and PPI. Let me go ahead and go into a 4-hour chart. That way you guys can see a little more clearly the kind of the day-to-day, what happened there. And we can go from there. So while that's pulling up, last week, what we had, on Wednesday, well, on Thursday, actually, we had the core PPI come out, and then for year over year, and then core PPI, well, that's actually Thursday. Hold on. Wednesday, we had the CPI, core CPI month over month, core CPI year over year, and then we just had the CPI year over year and CPI month over month. So as you guys can see, we came in at 0.4%, was expected 0.4%, came in a little bit lower than previous, which was 0.5%. And that is what kind of contributed to the slight push that we saw on Wednesday of last week. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this chart up for you guys. That way you guys can see kind of every day that we talk about what happened in those days. And mind you, we did not break out of this channel that we were in, even with the CPI and the PPI data that came out. It's just a matter of kind of what we ended up seeing. So Wednesday, we ended up, beginning of the day, we had the CPI come in, and then we actually saw a push up to the upside on Wednesday because of the CPI data that came out. And then after hours, we saw some selling pressure happen. Let me actually go ahead and zoom in a little more. That way you guys can see a little clearer as to what was going on. So Wednesday, we had the CPI push up, and then we had selling off happen towards the end, the rest of the day. And then after hours, we pretty much remained flat. Pre-market, we started pushing up. PPI came out, we pushed up again. And then after hours, we ended up seeing selling again. And then Friday was closing out. We had a push up to the upside, flattened out. And then Monday, we pretty much didn't go anywhere, right? This Monday, we sold off in pre-market. And then the first half of the day we were selling, and then today we ended up in the afternoon started pushing up to the upside. And so that's pretty much kind of what happened. We are in this channel right here that we've been trading, and we aren't really making any progress. So as you can see, the last 2 weeks we've pretty much been in this channel, and the game plan here, as mentioned, is going to be reacting to the breakout of this kind of channel, either to the upside or downside. So CPI, we went over that. 5.6 is what came in year over year for core CPI. 5.6 was expected. 5.5 was previous. So we did go up a little bit in terms of inflation. But overall, we did see quite a bit of numbers coming in a little lower than what was expected, which is why we saw that push up. And so we talked about that in last week's video. If you guys watched last week's video, we said that there was 3 outcomes that we can really see. We see the numbers come in significantly lower than what's expected, and that's going to see a push up to the upside for the overall market. We come in as expected, which is why we probably saw the flattening, and that's what we talked about. Or we come in higher than expected, and then we see selling happen. So we came in as expected, pretty much a little bit lower, which is kind of why we saw that fluctuation going up and down. But overall, it was pretty much as expected, and that's why we're seeing this sideways trading that we're seeing. CPI year over year came in at 5%. which is one of the ones that came in a little bit lower. 5.2 was expected. CPI month over month came in at 0.1. 0.2 was expected. And then that's pretty much kind of it with CPI. And then PPI on Thursday came in. We saw negative 0.5 come in. 0.1 was expected. So that did a little bit better than what was expected, which is, again, why we saw that push up to the upside. Core PPI came in at negative 0.1. 0.3 was expected. Again, came in a little bit better than what was expected. And then core PPI year over year came in at 3.4. 3.4 was expected, came in pretty much flat. Continuous jobless claims came in pretty much a little bit lower than what was expected, which is a good thing. And then initial jobless claims came in a little bit higher than what was expected, which is also a good thing because we do want the economy to slow down. So seeing those coming in is obviously better than what we need it to be, which is what we were expecting. So that's kind of why the market has been reacting the way it has. We haven't had any significant data come in. CPI and PPI was what we were expecting last week to see, some sort of movement, some sort of breakout, either to the upside out of this channel that we've been consolidating in or below this channel, depending on how the data came in. But it pretty much came in as expected. So that's why we're kind of seeing pretty much consolidation continue. So that's pretty much what happened last week, and that's kind of what's happening with the charts today. We are trading in this consolidation period. The daily and the 4-hour are pretty much going to show you the same thing. So we're going to go over the 4-hour today. We usually start with the daily and then go down to the 4-hour and the smaller time frames, but we can just go over the 4-hour today just to keep things simple because we haven't seen much happen. Again, we're just consolidating in this channel, and the game plan here is let's go ahead and zoom out a tad bit. That way you guys can kind of see the channels that we've been trading in. So we had this descending wedge right here that we actually broke out of. We had the smaller one that we broke out of right before we saw this rally happening and taking off. And so we've been pushing up to the upside ever since. We had this first level of resistance at 313. We've talked about this level in some of our previous videos leading up to where we're at right now. So if you guys have watched those, you guys kind of were expecting this 313 zone to be a level of resistance and then potentially your level of support. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. We had this as a resistance for about a week, I would say, and then we finally broke out above it, and then we found resistance here at that 320, 321 zone, and that's the channel we've been in since, right? So we had support at 313 and then resistance at 320, 321, and we've been pretty much consolidating in this period. What we wanted to see during CPI and PPI is we wanted to see some sort of breakout or at least a push up to the upside or a push down to the downside that's a little more significant. That way it gives us a little more clarity. And the reason is because we were pretty much trading in this ascending channel, right? And so we've broken out of that ascending channel and we are now trading sideways out of it. We're not trading down. We're not trading up with the channel. We're trading sideways, right? So now what we have adjusted to is creating this resistance level that we're at and the support level that we're at. And pretty much the game plan here is obviously you can trade intraday. You can trade like a 15-minute chart and capitalize on these intraday moves. But the bigger move that we're paying attention to and we're waiting for is a break above this 320, 321 zone to the upside, or a break below this 313 zone to the downside, right? And that's going to give us a little more clarity in terms of, are we selling off bigger or are we pushing up a little bigger, right? Because these moves right here are about 1% to 2%. And if you're trading with a smaller account, it's a little more difficult because you're really risking quite a bit for 1% to 2%. So really, it's really up to you in terms of if you want to trade this sideways kind of pattern that we're in right now, but that's pretty much what we're at right now. 15-minute chart today, what we saw, again, we saw some selling happen in the morning and then a push back up. Again, didn't really go anywhere. We pretty much closed at what we opened at. And that's been the case for last week, right? On Friday, same thing. We pretty much opened at 318 and we closed out at pretty much 318.89. Thursday, we had a push up to the upside because of PPI, and then we sold off pre-market. And then Wednesday, same thing. We had a push up pre-market and then sold off in the end of the day. So that was CPI, PPI, and then didn't go anywhere on Friday, didn't go anywhere today. And the goal here is on the 15-minute here, we are looking pretty overbought. So our side is looking more so on the overbought side than the oversold side. So it would be reasonable to expect a little bit of a selling kind of catalyst going on tomorrow, or at least pre-market. But again, let's go ahead and look at the 30-minute, again, more so on the overbought side than the oversold side. So kind of more leaning towards that bearish side of things to come down back to that 313 zone, find support there. Let's look at a 1 hour chart. 1 hour chart. We do have room to run. And again, I'm kind of telling you guys that, we haven't been going anywhere, and the charts pretty much show that, right? So if you guys are hesitant, the best thing you can do is probably stay cash until we see a breakout above this level or below this level, and then go into that. And the reason being is because you're going to be pretty much trading chop, right? And if you guys enjoy that, or if you guys, have a good time doing that, then, all power to you. But the risk to reward here is just kind of non-existent, just because we are in this sideways channel. And it's not that we come up and then we come down, we come up, we come down. We're pretty much just all over the place. So sometimes part of trading is knowing when to stay cash, and this would be one of those times, right? Stay cash until we get a little more clarity. And as of right now, I don't see anything that's really giving us any hints in either direction like we usually did. So, and this happens in trading. And so this is one of those times where you just want to remain patient. But there is still a game plan, right? It's just a matter of preparation. So our game plan here is if we break down below that 313 zone, we're looking at a 4-hour chart. If we break down below the 313 zone, we're going to be trading SQQQ, which goes up when the market goes down. And that's going to indicate to us that we have some selling pressure to see. And that first level down would probably be this 304 zone. And that would be because we found support here, and then we found support here. So that would be that first level down. The bigger level below that would be slightly bigger, and we'll get to that. So let's go ahead and charting this out as we go, so you guys know that the preparation happens as we speak, right? So selling happens, right? Our first level to the downside, we're watching that 304 zone. And then if we do break below 304, the next level down would be this 289, 290 zone. And the reason is because we had support here, support here. If we zoom out on a bigger chart, there's quite a bit of support. This acted as a resistance here, acted as a resistance, 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 resistance again. And so support, support, support. And so again, if we break down to this level, find support, we probably might see a bounce. If we break below it, that next level to the downside support would be that 289, 290 zone. Now that's to the downside. And if we're trading SQQQ, to the upside, we'd be looking for a break above this 220, 320, 321 zone. If we break above it, we're going to pretty much come back into this channel. And that next level to the upside would be this 336, 337 zone. And that's if we break up to the upside. We're going to have pretty much an entry back into this channel and probably continue up in this channel to the upside up here to 336, 337. So those are the two scenarios that we're paying attention to. As of right now, we are in this consolidation channel. What we want to do is wait and see, right? Because the opportunity just isn't there. The setup isn't there. And that's kind of the update. Sometimes it happens, and that's part of the game, right? So you guys have to wait it out. At least that's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be waiting for a break to either direction. That's the game plan for this week. Hopefully we see some action instead of just chop, but we'll see how it goes and react accordingly. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the key economic data that's going to be released this week, and maybe we will see some sort of catalyst to help move the market in one direction or the other. So today, Monday, we pretty much didn't see anything. Let's go ahead and pull this chart up for you guys. That way you guys can follow along and kind of see how the market's reacting. So Monday's right here. Let's go ahead and pull up the economic calendar. We didn't have any economic data coming out today that would move the market, and that's pretty much probably why we saw this kind of V chop that we saw. Didn't go anywhere. Tuesday, what we have is building permits. So that's going to be helpful. I don't think it's going to move the markets too much, but it's definitely a good economic data point that's going to be coming out that's going to be helping kind of guide the economy, right? Because we're going to know, are there more homes or buildings being built or not? Is that slowing down or is it increasing? That's really going to tell us that. And give us a little bit of guidance as to where we might potentially see the markets going. Wednesday, the only thing we really see that's important is crude oil inventories. That's going to be a big one to pay attention to. And then we have FOMC Williams member speaking. So that's going to be probably important to pay attention to. That way we can kind of get an idea of where their head is at in terms of rates. And what we should expect here in May. And Thursday, we have continuous jobless claims and initial jobless claims. Those are the two big ones to pay attention to. We have Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index reporting on Thursday. And then existing home sales, again, that's going to be something like the building permits, right? It's going to be giving us guidance. I don't think it's going to move the markets too much, but it's just going to give us some guidance. And that's going to be for the month of March. And then Friday, we pretty much don't really have anything worth kind of noting. The only other thing would be Governor Cook speaks, the Fed governor speaking. Other than that, really, that's pretty much it for the week. Manufacturing PMI on Friday. Again, don't think it's going to be moving the market too much, but definitely one to pay attention to. So that's kind of a quick guide as to what levels we're watching this week, what economic data is being reported, what economic data was reported last week, and how the markets reacted. Again, we are in this sideways channel that we have been trading in, and we are waiting for a breakout to the upside or the downside. If we break to the downside, we're going to be trading SQQQ. If we break up to the upside, we're going to be buying TQQQ. And so that's kind of the game plan. Those are the levels. And hopefully you guys found value in this video. If you guys did, make sure to smash that like button, share this video with a friend. Hopefully it helps them out, gives them some guidance as to how to better prepare for the market, how to be reactive versus attempting to predict the market. And obviously, if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. We post these videos every single week. Keep you guys updated with the market status, what's going on, key economic data that's being reported, and the levels that you guys should be paying attention to, and game plans like this one that we are currently, waiting for to play out so that we can take action. See you guys on next week's video, and happy trading.